We have found ourselves a problem, and its name is Morpeko. We are ABA weak to this thing, so unfortunately Ledian is going to have to be sacrificed to the Poke Gods. The opponent should fire off the Aura Wheel. Wait. What sort of bait is that? The opponent then pivots out, attempting to catch a triple resisted dynamic punch, but all they're going to catch is the Acrobatics to the face, quick switch into Sableye, and just like that, we flip the game on its head. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back at it, showcasing the Pokemon, if I'm being brutally honest, is one of the main reasons I've returned to playing the game, and that is Shadow Ledian. Me and Ledian have somewhat of a love-hate relationship. You lot love to see me run it, and I fucking hate running it because it has always been absolutely horrendous. This Pokemon has been buffed numerous times. The first time it was released, I tried it. It was awful. They gave it counter. It was still awful. It got dynamic punch. Awful. Bug bite got buffed. I thought, maybe this is when it's going to be good. Nope, it was still absolutely atrocious. Fast forward to today, I believe we're in season 26. I could be wrong, as I did take like 6 months off the game, but it got not 1 but 2 buffs. It got access to Rollout. Not only is Rollout a pretty decent quick move, it's actually got quite good synergy for Ledian. Ledian has somewhat of a vulnerable typing, however Rollout gives you the ability to hit back some of your counters such as fire, ice and flying for super effective, as well as generating energy very, very quickly. Not only did it gain access to Rollout this season, it also got access to Acrobatics, that very hard hitting charge move we see Jumpluff being super annoying, spamming out at a very alarming rate. Ledian, not really known for his attack stat, much like Jumpluff, but with the Shadow bonus, trust me when I tell you this thing hits insanely hard. Pair that up with Dynamic Punch, one of the most energy efficient charge moves in the game, once again with fantastic synergy, able to hit back some of your counters are super effective. Ledian is looking one very promising pick. As always, we've chatted for far too long, so without any further ado, let's get into the battles! And in game 1, I led Ledian into Feraligatr. You can already see that Ledian is very, very bulky, tanking that Hydro Cannon no problem whatsoever. The opponent then farms up, attempts to trap me into the charge attack priority. Ledian don't win too many CMP ties, so I'm more than happy to take the extra. I then throw one Rollout and the Dynamic Punch. Whilst Dynamic Punch won't be lethal, we'll leave Gator low, quick switch into Sableye, and attempted snipe. The opponent saves Feraligatr as a sacrificial swap and send out Altaria. And if this opponent don't know about that Dazzling Gleam coverage, they're about to find out. Dazzling Gleam almost picks up the one-hit KO. Apparently everyone's Drain Punch nowadays, and holy crap, is it fun gleaming stuff to the face. We land so many gleams today. Sableye able to remove Altaria from the field of play and leave minimal farm for whatever should come out next. Out comes Shadow Blaziken, and that is one very scary Pokemon. I send out Cradily, farm up, look to make the catch, back onto Ledian of what should be an Aura Spear. Aura Spear double resisted, but Blaziken still able to secure the knockout. Out comes Cradily, and I'm now going to watch out for the opponent attempting to make a catch of their own. You all notice there, we got one turn bring in. It is what it is. I don't even give a shit about game set anymore. We're just here to have some fun. There is said attempted catch. Unsuccessful. Cradily fires off the Rock Tomb, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. One further Rock Tomb's reached, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Lantern, aka the silly electric fish. I did stay in to check the quick move. They're on Spark, so I pivot out into Sableye. Once again, the opponent pivots into Altaria. Can we go 2 for 2 on Landon Gleams? Bang! There it is. Yet another opponent fucks about, and they find out. I instantly deploy the Protect Shield. The opponent goes to their own Hail Mary, throwing the Moonblast, which bounces off the Protect Shield. And just like that, we take back switch. Back out comes Lantern. Lantern going to be greeted with the Foul Play. Foul Play able to land and get him down to around the half health. This silly fish is going to be forced to dump energy before we reach the next Foul Play, and they do exactly that. Now we have the correct alignment. I pivot out into Cradily. Out comes Gastron, and switch advantage clearly is going to be everything in this battle. Mod Slap has been nerfed, and Ledian, being a flying and bug type, actually triple resist ground type moves. I YOLO that Hail Mary Acrobatics, leaving the opponent deep into the red health range. The opponent still has 2 Protect Shields, but at this point I'm not really sure what they're saving them for. We fire off the Dynamic Punch, forcing the opponent's first protection. They pivot out into Lantern. We reach the next Dynamic Punch. The opponent find themselves between a rock and a hard place. Dynamic Punch, forced to Protect Shield, quick switch into King Cradily. Cradily going to be greeted with the Surf. Surf hits for neutral, but unfortunately for them, isn't going to get the job done. We fire off the Rock Tomb. I was hoping Rock Tomb enabled to farm down. It did not, but regardless, this game is over. Props to this opponent, not only did they YOLO that Moonblast in the mid-game matchup, they're actually on an Earthquake, which is something I did not expect to see, but unfortunately, despite them YOLOing a few nukes, it's simply not going to be enough, and we're able to take that game. In the next battle, the tough leads continues. We see Shadow and Shadow Crime with Ledian into Ninetales. We farm up, bank a small amount of energy before save switching into Sableye. I think you can use both Sableye and Cradily as a save switch. It looks like I'm using Sableye more often than not, or perhaps it's just the soft counter. Out comes Altaria, surely. We're not going to see another Gleam land. Oh my, Gleams landing left, right and centre. Despite me having the rank 1 maximum bulk Sableye, we just miss out on the foul play and the opponent does get a massive Dragon Breath farm down. I send out Cradily and look to start getting head and energy. We still find ourselves in the 2-2 shield. The opponent sends out Celio. Celio going to be greeted with the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb force that first Protect shield. We pivot now into Ledian. The opponent throws on alignment. Ledian, the head and energy, might be able to close the show. The opponent fire off the Surf. Pivot back out into Ninetales. Ledian going to be investing that first Protect shield. We're then going to throw one Roller and the Dynamic Punch and look to start forcing either the final Protect shield or massive damage onto Ninetales. Ninetales gets left deep into the red. We get the perfect farm down. Back out comes Celio. Ledian all at the next Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch able to land, and at this point it's going to be a fast move beat down to the finish. I think this battle was the first glimpse of what Ledian can actually do. Not only handling an ice type, but a fire type too. Cradily comes in, fires off a couple of acids, and we're able to take that game. It looks like I've really upset some of the Pokegods as we seem to find ourselves tough lead after tough lead. Yes, we've got Dynamic Punch that would hit the Bear Trap for super effective, but Rockside in return would be double super effective. We farm up, bank some energy, make the pivot into Sableye. Sableye's answered by Pelipper. The opponent didn't shield the foul play, and once again Sableye able to take back switch. Back out comes the Bear Trap. Shadow Sableye still not done, able to land the foul play. You can see foul play does quite a lot of damage. With that in mind, logically the opponent is going to have to look to remove Sableye before the next foul play is reached. Have we just caught a triple resisted Earthquake? Oh baby, what an absolute savage catch. Clear the opponent, not a fan of that play as they have run for the hills. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd imagine this trainer's phone finds itself in a million pieces, or potentially it's probably been thrown out the window. For me, I'm brutally honest, the days of me being a top tier battler are well behind me. But thankfully, we're still able to pull off the odd magical moment here and there, and that was very satisfying. It would have been nice if the opponent just top left, but it is what it is. Ledian going to enjoy landing a Hail Mary Acrobatics onto Venusaur as we're able to emerge victorious. Heading into the next battle, we see Seismitoad in the lead position. I guess this is what you'd call somewhat of a scuffed matchup, while the Mud Shots are triple resisted. They've now got access to Icy Wind, which they get to in only 10 turns. That does in turn hit for super effective and also lowers my attack. Despite Icy Wind being super effective, it looks like we can tank 2. Not well, but well enough. And even after the debuff, I would anticipate being able to knock him out with an Acrobatics, but the opponent actually snipes me down, and there's a prime example of me being somewhat washed up. We lose so much energy. Oof, that's tough. I remember this battle well, to be honest. I then end up playing to the CMP side that I did not win. I actually thought they were one off, and it is all going wrong in this battle. You've seen the good in the last battle, you're seeing the bad here, or maybe you can call it the ugly. You can't win them all, and this was definitely not one of my best played battles. I actually have a chance for redemption here. I imagine the opponent isn't going to shield, potentially look to shield flex, and the Gleam would have one-shot him, but you know what, I played like crap. I'm just going to concede the match, say well played opponent, and move on to the next one. This time we find ourselves a Fortress in the lead position. Dependent on the quick move, it could be a good or bad matchup. Unfortunately for me, they're running Volt Switch, so I say nope, Sableye, go quickly. The opponent debuffs me and then send out Greedent. As they're a normal type, if I was the opponent, I think they should have just switched into Greedent instantly, bank the energy as they don't need to debuff me to shore up this mid-game matchup. Of course, I'm personally not complaining about that play from my opponent. However, as well as having fun, we do try and be educational. I think the opponent would have been far better off banking the energy. I send back out Ledian, over farm, fire off the first Dynamic Punch, would move ingredient from the field of play. And as the opponent dumped their energy earlier, and they've actually took quite a lot of damage, Ledian now finds itself in a position where it can knock out this Fortress, fire off Dynamic Punch, forcing the opponent first Protect Shield, and then send out Cradily. Crazy more than content to tank a Rock Tomb, which is non-stab from Fortress and doesn't do all that much damage. The opponent remain on the screen. Crazy looks for the kill shot, firing off the Rock Tomb, and able to do exactly that. Out comes Azumarill, aka the very bulky, boring Blue Bunny, and this game looks absolutely over. Crazy fires off the grass, not even at -1, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. I stay in, look to force the energy, and Ledian will look to close the show. As I've still got 2 Protect Shields, I did anticipate the opponent top left in, as logically their only win con is going to be looking to farm me down with the quick move of Bubble, which simply will not happen. Azumarill, one bulky boy, but my, the Acrobatics did over half their health. The opponent finally recognised they cannot win the battle, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we finally find ourselves a very, very nice lead. The only problem with running Ledian, or any free turn quick move to be honest, is somewhat clunky and quite easy for the opponent to make a catch. Thankfully, the opponent does not catch. They fire off yet another body slam, and as that CMP, this dynamic punch will be landing on its intended target. Does the opponent want to keep Wireless around? They do not. Ledian able to get the one-hit KO. Out comes Wall Rain. Ledian still not done. Fires off yet another dynamic punch. Trainer! What are you saving them shields for? Rather than conceding a farm down and make the pivot into Saberline, unlike my opponent, I actually intend to use some Protect Shields, and I intend to win this battle too. The opponent sends out Clodsire. Despite them having 2 shields, I kind of understand why they didn't shield that. They probably thought, I'm likely to throw a Drain Punch, but I haven't got Drain Punch trainers. We're able to land the foul play for some very, very meaningful damage. You can see there, I attempt to catch another Earthquake. Thankfully, it's actually a Stone Edge that would have actually backfired, but Stone Edge doesn't get the job done. We fire off yet another foul play, forced protection. The opponent pivots into Wall Rain just to feed me the energy for yet another foul play. Foul play going to leave the opponent incredibly, incredibly low. I'd like to not reveal my third, but I'm never ever Rollout farming them down. Well, actually, I would Rollout farm them down eventually, but we just pivot out into Craydilly. The opponent recognise they cannot win the game, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see a terrifying Pokemon, and probably my favourite Pokemon in the entire game in both the Great and the Ultra League, a Shadow Primate. The opponent fires off the Ice Punch, which is non-stab, but oof, that hurt. The opponent then pivots into Drapion. Drapion greeted with the Dynamic Punch. I was thinking, how do I play this? I was going to stay, and then I think, shit, I'm going to get Poison Stung farm down, so eventually make a very, very slow switch into Craydilly. As I fed him so much energy, Craydilly's essentially going to be the 3rd and 4th shield. I think after landing the Dynamic Punch, I should have went straight to Craydilly, as hesitation has really put me behind in this battle. I have actually got Sableye up a Protect Shield, so perhaps we can do something here. This is only an Aqua Tail, but I guess I've got to kind of shield something. So we shield up the Aqua Tail, try and keep Sableye healthy, and out comes the Quagman. We farm up, throw the foul play. Foul play once again gets little respect. I guess everyone's just anticipating me throwing Drain Punches. Despite this being Shadow on Shadow Crime, unfortunately, even after landing the foul play, we're not going to be able to Shadow Claw farm all the way down. Well, at least we won't, without making a cheeky catch. The opponent made a catch, we make a catch in return. I'm now able to get the full Shadow Claw farm down. I'm at like 100 energy, or very close, and I've got to kind of be careful of the opponent trying to make a pivot back into Drapion. As I say that, we overfarm yet further, and the opponent still makes a catch. We fully know Bubble is going to be a race to the double charge move. Unfortunately for me, the opponent is at the double, so are we, but they've got the higher attack stat. They win CMP the first time, so believe it or not, they're going to win CMP the second time too. The opponent played really well. We lose to a triple Shadow Enthusiast, which I don't mind at all. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we lead Ledian into Mantine. We do take super effective from the wing attacks, but likewise, they're taking super effective from the rollouts. This isn't the worst matchup, to be honest. We're going to tank the Twister, and then going to overfarm, fire off the Acrobatics. This is able to land. We'll make a quick pivot into Saber and look to save Ledian for whatever they've got in the back. As the opponent shields, I then decide Ledian must be good against something in the back, as they're trying to get rid of it. There is the thing that doesn't want to see Ledian, a Mud Slap user. Oh, how is Marowak still used nowadays? After the Mud Slap nerf, I was hoping I wouldn't see this bloody annoying pest this season, but here it is. Marowak fires off the Bone Club, remove me from the field of play. I send back out Ledian and just look to get rid of this thing immediately before the opponent has any bright ideas of pivoting out and saving it for later. We're able to secure the knockout. Out comes Ninetales, make the pivot into Craydilly. Craydilly going to be investing in the Protect Shield. The opponent fires off the energy ball, likely fishing for the defense drop, which they do not get. I don't even be careful, to be honest, as Rock Tomb is the move I'd want to throw at either of the two Pokemon. The opponent invests the Protect Shield, then pivot out into Mantine, and this game once again looks over. The opponent go for the Bubble Beam, looking to debuff me, but no debuff is ever saving this opponent. We fire off the first Rock Tomb, even at -1, removing Mantine from the field of play. Back out comes Ninetales. Ninetales fires off the Weather Ball. We're still at -1, no need to reset any debuff, as this is Shadow and Shadow Crime, and even debuffed Rock Tomb is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next fight, we see Gelatin in the lead position. Formerly an awful matchup nowadays, it is quite playable, but arguably two better response to the back, so I pivot into Sableye. The opponent stays in, end up shielding the foul play, and any one move is survivable. Well, it is if you got the rank 1, as my Sableye is one thick boy. The opponent fire off the Shadow Ball, Sableye shrugs it off, reaches foul play number 2, and just the Shadow Ball damage alone has put them below half health, and we've forced both Protect Shield. Ledian re-enters the arena. The opponent fires off the Shadow Ball, you can see it doesn't even do half our health. All for Ledian, you bulky boy. As the opponent now finds himself shieldless, I'm going to go for the one shield, look to roll out farm him into range where Dynamic Punch will knock him out and leave with residual energy good to go, and look to start landing some nukes. Much to my disappointment, out comes a silly electric fish, something unfortunately we can't nuke. I think here I should shield this move, as I am going to shield one of them. So logically, you should probably shield the first, as the one after being Rock Tomb will do less. But I guess kind of just me being fussy, this game looks completely over. We're just going to shield at the next drill run. I could have had a few more HP if I shielded the first, but it's like whatever at this point. I overfarm, fire off the Grass Knot, easy going to pick up the knockout, back out, comes Lantern, we're going to outpace the Grass Knot number 2. The Seal Electric Fish going to be left deep in the red health range. We've got the Acrobatics locked and loaded. We give the opponent that wham, bam, combo play, serve up the Big Mac and the fries, and a cheeky BM for the dub. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see the return of the Ninetales lead, again 2 rollouts, and then we make the pivot into Sableye. So of course, them using a 2-turn move versus my 3-turn move, logically they want to throw at 1, 4 or 7, hence I throw 2 and look to pivot out before we potentially take big damage from an incoming Weather Ball. This time Sableye is answered by Jumpluff. Jumpluff 1, a very bulky boy, able to tank back-to-back foul plays. The opponent is going to be forced to dump some energy. They do exactly that, firing off the energy ball. I thought there was at 100 energy here, so I thought logically this is the Acrobatics, and I invest protection on energy ball, which is double resisted. Oof, feels bad, man. And this is why you should probably count. Well, I did actually play these battles super early in the morning while I was on my lunch break at work, and to be honest, I wasn't paying all that much attention. I'm able to save Ledian and make the pivot into Cradilly. Cradilly tanks the neutral Weather Ball reasonably well. You can see we can tank 2. The second one does leave me in the red, but we're not in danger of getting Ember Farm down before the Rock Tomb is reached. I fire off the Rock Tomb forces the opponent's final protection. The opponent is going to be forced to throw. I'm looking at the health thinking, am I going to be able to roll out farm them down here? One shield and farm down does look playable. The opponent recognise they're going to get farmed down, make the pivot out into Jumpluff. Jumpluff gets farmed down, out comes Hypno. Hypno going to be greeted with the first Acrobatics. That is massive damage. 2 further rollouts, which means the next Confusion will not register. The second Acrobatics will move in Hypno from the field of play. We roll out farm down Ninetales, and Ledian ironically pulls off the sweep. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see our first Seeking sighting. A Pokemon I've actually got maxed out all the way for the Ultra League, and you better believe we'll be putting it to work, despite not being a Shadow, because it's a pretty rare pick. I doubt too many other people have one made. However, that's for another video, so returning to the commentary, we once again see a Jumpluff counter swapped in. Despite being Shadow and Shadow Crime, this Sableye continues to put in work, able to tank the Energy Ball and force a Protect Shield here in that mid-game matchup. Jumpluff finds itself in a perfect farm down range for Cradilly. Cradilly happy to match Protect Shield and look to start loading up on energy. The opponent fire off the Acrobatics, then back out Seeking, and we are full send in the Grass Knot. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. They get one shot. The opponent, like I thought it was a Rock Tomb. Sadly, Trainer, it was not, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Fortress in the lead position. I think usually if you're a Shadow, you're on Bug Bite. If you're the regular on Volt Switch, but this one is a Shadow on Volt Switch. I actually looked to play this one somewhat different from last time. I stay in, no one outpace. Force a Protect Shield before sending out Sableye. The opponent throw the Rock Tomb, remain on the screen, so I farm up, throw on CMP, which is a bit risky. The opponent could make a catch, but thankfully they don't, and we're actually able to force both Protect Shields here in the opening matchup. Whilst having a 2 to no shield advantage is very nice for me, as the opponent's played this kind of funky, I imagine they've got some absolute nonsense RPS crap in the back, and they're just looking to force alignment at all costs. I overfarm, 5 Dynamic Punch, removing them from the field of play. Out comes Kingdra. The opponent throws on alignment. Unfortunately, despite Dragon Breath being reworked, these Dragon Breaths are doing a lot. I overfarm as much as I dare to. Fire off the Acrobatics. Acrobatics picks up the one-hit KO. Out comes Empoleon. Oof. I thought we was going to make that Dynamic Punch. We did not. But wait, this is Shadow on Shadow Crime. This is one of Cradilly's worst matchup. The question now becomes, is Grass not enough to knock out? Oh, I can't even see the health bar. 1 HP in a dream. Oh, ABA Steel. Ah, that's so annoying. But they were a triple Shadow team, so GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we are looking for some redemption, and we see a battle of flying types. Both hitting each other super effective. They fire off the Water Pulse, then attempt to make a catch. Catch attempt unsuccessful. Out comes Galarian Stun Fist. The first Dynamic Punch does half the opponent's health, meaning this next one will actually knock out or force a Protect Shield. Holy man, the opponent completely sacked the Bear Trap, and that more than works for me. Whenever you showcase a Shadow Pokemon, there's always comparisons with his regular counterpart, and let me tell you, the regular Ledian won't be too sure to need Bear Traps. That is something that only the Shadow can do. We send out Cradilly, the opponent then pivots out into their own Sableye. I fire off the Rock Tomb, forcing a very annoying debuff before entering the mirror. I'm thinking this is probably almost certainly a Drain Punch, but loose con for me is probably tanking a foul play. So we do invest a Protect Shield, annoyingly we do get debuffed, and of course we lose CMP too. We should be fine here. I've just got to spam out as many foul plays as physically possible. And I guess make sure the opponent doesn't make a catch. They actually instantly pivot out into Mantine, which makes my life very, very easy. We overfarm, trap the opponent into the charge attack priority. First foul play knocks out Mantine. We outpace to the next foul play, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Cradilly in the lead position. I think Cradilly's a funny Pokemon. Most people spam the move as soon as they get it, even if it's on alignment. However, this time I'm the one throwing on alignment, and the reason for that is if I look to throw at good timing, I will get outpaced, but able to land the Dynamic Punch. The opponent banked their energy before sending out Swampert. Swampert greeted with the foul play, and the opponent, if they're smart, should Earthquake if they're on it, because Hydro Cannon simply won't cut it. I could have actually threw the foul play there, but the thought process here is I'd rather just go for the one shield, farm them down, look top right, no win CMP against that Cradilly, which will even knock them out, which means the opponent's going to lose their energy, or they're going to be forced to match Protect Shields. The opponent actually sacrificed Cradilly. They're going to 2-shield Typhlosion. Unfortunately for my opponent, it looks like I get DRE. I've heard there's some game updates while I've been away. I'm not sure if DRE is meant to be every time now. I don't know, but we get it. It is what it is. And out comes Shadow Typhlosion. You absolutely love to see it. Shadow Ty, the Pokemon. I personally have 2-shielded time and time again. Typhlosion looking to put the team on its back. Cradilly forces a very annoying debuff that the opponent is never ever going to be able to reset. I pivot into Ledian, look to force the energy. The opponent falls in the Blast Burn. I look to fire off the Bad Manners Grass Knot, but much to my disappointment, Acid Farm down first, and we take that game. In the next battle, holy man, how many of these bloody Ninetales leads are we going to see? The opponent sends out Guzzlord. Do they respect the damage? Bang! There it is! Guzzlord straight in and straight out. If you start to see a load of Shadow Sableye running Dazzling Gleam, I'm going to take the credit for it. It is definitely so much more fun than that Drain Punch. Drain Punch, very annoying. Dazzling Gleam, a lot more satisfying. Holy moly, man, there's been so many clean booms today. Once again, switch advantage seems to be everything here. If you're wondering why I'm throwing a Dynamic Punch as opposed to an Acrobatics, I think I've actually overthought it, to be honest, but the thought process was I don't want to give the opponent too much farm. However, I guess they've been forced to throw anyway as Ledian now, incredibly spammy. How it kind of works out for me is I'm going to be able to farm them down as opposed to them farming me down. We're going to instantly debuff this Ninetales and we should be good to go. Although this opponent does have a shit ton of energy, to be honest. It might get somewhat dicey. Oh wait, I've got 2 shells. What am I even on about? I think what the opponent should probably do here is top left. A no shield. Hoping the opponent sees the writing on the wall. Shout out Home Size Henry. They do not, so guess what? You know what's up. We're going to give him that bad manners grass that we missed out in the last battle. Able to get it this time, and I'm able to emerge victorious. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we have found ourselves a problem, and its name is Morpeko. We are ABA week, so unfortunately, today's star of the show, Ledian, is going to be sacrificed to the Poke Gods. Wait. The opponent goes the most ridiculous bait. Then attempt to catch a triple resisted dynamic punch onto the hot air balloon. Catch attempt unsuccessful. Acrobatics. Monstrous damage. Quick switch into Sableye. We're able to Shadow Claw farm down. And just like that, we flip the game on its head. Oh my days. Switch advantage is absolutely everything. Ledian was in an atrocious opening matchup and now finds itself against a Mud Slapper. We fire off the foul play on CMP, winning CMP. Oof. I've had a few shockers today, but this opponent playing really poorly. I'm honestly completely baffled why you'd Psychic Fangs bait. That is so bloody greedy. Some people are just so horny for baiting. And this is a case in point in why you shouldn't bait. They led something that completely core breaks me. And in a weird turn of events, it looks like I'm going to 2-shield flex. I fire off the bad manners Acrobatics just to rub a little salt in the opponent's wound. Cradily hits the field of play, tanks the aura wheel, no problem whatsoever. We reach the grass knot, and that is going to be all she wrote with Cradily, landing one final boom to close today's video. GG's, and thanks for playing. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's showcase. It's only taken about 3 years and 4 video attempts to get Ledian to finally shine. But let me tell you, if you've got a Shadow, it's not, of course, going to be top meta, but it is now very playable, as you can see from today's showcase. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, we're going to be back to shoutcasting for the first time in like 6 months, sometime soon. So get your battle submissions in. I'd just like to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.